All right, welcome everyone back to another special edition of the Broker to Broker podcast. I'm your host, Marc Summers, founding president of AIME. Today, very excited about this episode. He is one of the first people that I ever met at one of our AIME events. He's one of my favorites. It's a great time to talk to. Very, very well respected in our industry. Without further ado, I want to welcome Matt Oliver, senior loan officer at Lund Mortgage team. Matt, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, how are you guys? How's it going, Mark?
Hanging in there, man. Just very, very excited to hear what you have to say today. Always appreciate your opinion on things. I think you're very level-headed, but at the same time, you know what the hell you're doing. So if you can, for everyone here, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us like how you got started in this mortgage industry. Just gonna let you take it away.
Yeah, I got started at Chase doing home equity lines of credits back probably 22, 23 years old. Kind of fell into that job and it was going good for a little while. This was back like when equity was booming. So it was like shooting fish in a barrel with some of those ones. So I got started on the home equity line of credit thing, which has kind of come full circle over the last couple of years because now it's picked up. You know, we're actually doing a few of those in today's market. I got started over there doing that process and then met my wife in 2005. And she started telling me about the broker side of things. And I found it fascinating because I worked at Chase retail and had no clue what the broker side of it was. And I think one of the first comments to her I ever said was, why would anyone go to you for a mortgage? Why would they not just come to Chase? I mean, you guys are nobodies. Like, just come to Chase. We'll get it all done. You guys are too small. And then unbeknownst to me, got introduced to the broker world, came over in October 1st of 2007 is when I started with her and her dad. Her dad started the company in 99. She started her own in 2009, but I came over and joined with them. Like I said, October of 2007. They actually transitioned at a perfect time to be a little bit more of an in-house direct to consumer platform at that point. So I jumped on the phones because I'd had phone experience with Chase at that time and got to work at that point.
So like, what are some things that, I love asking this question for people that were in retail because they all have a different point of view on it. Like what's something that you brought from that retail side over to the broker side? I mean, was it the phone thing? Like how you taught your phones? Like what did you bring over that helped you see?
Yeah, I think a lot of it would have been the phone part of it, just kind of understanding things from a consumer perspective because that's all we knew. I think that's so different than what people deal with on our side. I mean, when I do talk to people that reach out and say, hey, what can I do? How do I get into business? I don't know that I can offer them as much help as they could if they talk to a different LO because the relationships are so much different. You know, and if you're getting into this business, you would want to start with realtor, getting to know realtors and start to pick up business that way. But I think a lot of people forget about the consumer in our business, and they really shouldn't, because you can pick up a lot more business if you keep the consumers engaged or keep their information. I feel like a lot of our loan officers are just kind of going out and they're trying to pick up realtor business 24/7, and they neglect to save the customers or the clients that they've worked with in the years past that would bring them repeat business over and over and over. And so I agree with you on that one.
I agree with you on that one because yes, like a lot of people are always trying to get new business, and I completely get that, but your book of business is probably the most valuable thing to you because I know you guys use the direct to consumer model quite a bit. Tell me a little bit about that because I know you have realtors that you deal with, you have created relationships with, and we'll dive into that later. But like, what's your model for direct to consumer? Like, what separates you guys?
So when I got over here taking the calls that way, it kind of worked the same way as the retail model did. The company had been advertising on talk radio. So they were really aggressive on the talk radio side of things, sports talk, kind of political talk, or entertainment talk radio. And so that was really the niche. And so we were that's where the direct to consumer model started. It was all talk radio. There was not any, not music radio, none of that kind of stuff. And so the reason for that is because it could be like you and I, if we were hosting a radio show right now, we would talk sports the whole time. And then you just go right into, hey, let me tell you about my friends over at Lund Mortgage or Marc. Let me tell you about Marc and his business. But when it's talk radio, you go right into the session. So people aren't changing the station. If it's music radio, if you got a crappy song that comes on, they automatically change the station. With talk radio, it just flows straight through. So you got a lot of people that stay on. So that's kind of the niche part of it is the talk radio side of things. That's the direct to consumer side of things. I know people, depending on their age, they don't think anybody listens to talk radio anymore, but there's still a huge market for it. It's wild, but there is definitely a market for it.
No, for me personally, just to decompress, every day I take my kid to school, I'm talk radio every single time. It just does something for me. It gives my mind the right frame of mind. We'll say that. So when you talk about your direct to consumer, I know you use radio and whatnot, but like, how do you maintain your current book of business? Is there like a certain CRM you use? Is it, hey, every 30 days I'm calling someone? Like, what's your guys' process on that?
Yeah, so that's where we did lack a lot of that in the beginning. Obviously, like going through like the HARP days, if people remember some of those refinance days, 2011, 12, 13, 14. We left a lot of meat on the bone, I would say it, because we weren't retaining those clients. And I just kept thinking as all that business is coming through, we have to keep these contacts, or we have to keep the email addresses and phone numbers of these people, but we just didn't have the freaking time to do it. Then the business slowed down, and that's all I kept thinking about was all these people that we did not retain throughout that time frame. So when things started getting busier throughout 17, 18, 19, I just kept telling my wife, Lisa, like, we have to have a database. That's the whole value of the company, is the brand and the database and retaining these clients. So about that time is when we started picking up, we tried every database imaginable, like I think we all do. Right now, we definitely are stuck. We're not stuck. We're in a good way. We've been using Bonzo. But it's just like anybody says in regards to database, the best one is just the one you're going to use. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. There's no perfect one out there. You just have to get on one and try to navigate the one that you're going to use religiously. But that's keeping all those clients in the database system will turn more business for you than you'll ever imagine. So we have it set up. We've always keep tweaking it as much as we can to. Everybody has the normal drip ones, right? You do your birthday, you do the Merry Christmas and all that kind of stuff. We've gotten better at trying to target them when rates get lower, or if some monumental thing comes up in the mortgage world, but we reach out to them. I mean, we still get people nowadays that reach out to us and say, hey, I haven't heard from you in a little while. Is everything normal in the mortgage industry? Or they're asking us questions now if they haven't heard from us. So you'd be surprised at how many people want to know or want to stay up to date with what's going on with mortgage rates and the mortgage industry. So you're going to get your people that do opt out and unsubscribe. But if you keep building up the amount of people that are in your database, you don't care if some of those ones fall out.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Like I use Bonzo as well. One of the things I do is I do a monthly mortgage minute. You know what I mean? It's just quick hitting. And then I'm with you. You'll be shocked. Some people will be like, hey, I didn't see your email this month. What's going on? And I'm like, and there was 1 month, I'm not going to lie, I go, holy shit, I forgot. I just flat out forgot. But, it just happens that way sometimes. So you're direct to consumer, which I would say I lean towards that way a lot more. What piece of advice would you give someone who has been doing nothing but trying to get realtors, and they need to kind of lean towards that a little more, especially in the environment that I think we're in and going to? Like, what's one piece of advice you would give them to start it up right now?
I think you need to try to capture everybody. I mean, you need the realtors, but you need the title people. You need every single client. You need to start with family members. You need to just capture as many people as you can all in one fall swoop. I mean, you can go to a title company right now if you were just getting into it and literally say, give me everybody that closed a loan over the past 2 years and give me the ones that went to Fairway. I want to take every Fairway client because I know they got crappy rates, and just start nailing them. Add them to your database. There's one tip right there that you could pull out loans. You should be able to pull out a loan every freaking month. Go to whoever's got the highest interest rates in your own general market. I mean, pick on the retail guys right then and there, and that should drive in enough, period. So I think just adding people like that to a general database will bring in a couple loans every month. So you don't always have to be out picking up a new realtor or a new client every single month if you're out trying to figure out how many new people you can get into your database. The data is out there. You just got to figure out a way to get it. And a lot of it's cheaper than you'd ever imagine if you just try or talk to other people and figure out what they're doing to add names to their database, period. A lot of it too,
No,
I think
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I just did a podcast with someone. They were talking about how we were so far behind when it came to data from big banks, big boys, right? And now we have that data accessible to us. It's up to us to utilize it now. We cried about it for the longest time. Now it's up to us to use it. But go ahead, Matt.
Well, no, I was just going to say it's the other thing that I try to always do is when you do have those loans, when you are working on those loans, the one big thing that I've always tried to pride myself on is creating a relationship or a memory with the client some way or another. I mean, some clients you're not going to be able to, but I still have some guys that I've just created memories with over sports or over politics or over weather or whatever it is. Try to do something that they will always remember the interactions that you've had with them. And you'll be surprised that they'll actually be kind of like outside sales reps for you in a roundabout way. If mortgage ever comes up, they will tell the next guy, hey, call my friend Matt or Marc over at Lund or whatever. You know, they'll be the sales reps for you if they can remember who you are and they like who you are personality wise.
Yep. And I'll give you one thing here. If you don't contact them, I don't care how good of a relationship you think you have with them or how good of a job you thought you did with them. If you don't stay in constant contact, they forget you.
Yeah. We have a joke. I won't take credit for this, but I thought it was a good analogy that somebody ever had was you got to be the OBGYN doctor. You know, you come in and this is on the pre-approval. You tell them they're pre-approved, which you tell them that they're pregnant. You handle everything that way. And then they go off to the processing team, which is the nurse. The processors do all the work, right? They're the ones that help us out the most. The nurses are the ones that take care of them for the 9 weeks. And then at the very end, you make the closing call. You create that lasting memory in their head. The doctor's the one that delivers the baby. But if you're making that lasting touch on them and making them feel as valuable as they can be on a purchase side of it, they're always going to remember you as the loan officer on that transaction. Unfortunately, they do kind of forget about the processor that did all the work on the transaction. But if you're making those closing calls at the end, that's a big thing that we do too, is to make the closing call, go through all the numbers, ask them for referrals is the biggest part of that conversation. But just create that lasting impression at the very end of the conversation, as well as the closing gift that, you know, UWM throws in or will do. We do our own too, but throwing in those lasting things at the very end of the transaction on a purchase will pay dividends way down the road too. But that was just a short analogy.
I was going to say, I always know you would come up with some sort of analogy, but it's spot on because, I mean, I have 3 kids. I can't tell you one nurse's name, and you're right. They did all of the work basically, but I can tell you which doctor. You know what I mean? That's we need to get T-shirts made like that or something. That's hilarious. Okay, so you're doing all this contact. Take me through like all of your points of contact when you actually get a loan. Like, how does your process work there?
So what we try to do on my side is I want to get it all the way to where I'm disclosing the loan or doing the initial disclosures. Preferably I'm on them about, hey, I need these documents in, you know, take the application or they'll do the application over the phone. If it's a good deal, I'll do the application over the phone because I know I can type it up within 3 to 5 minutes. I'd rather do it that way than send them an application and hopefully they get it done in 3 to 5 days, because the other angle of it is too, someone else may talk to them on the phone. So they may bump into somebody else at the grocery store or at their kid's sporting event. If it's going to be a quality loan or a real good loan and I know I can type it up, I'll take the 3 to 5 minutes if I can turn that deal in. That's a little bit more on a refi side of things. But, either I'm taking the application over the phone, or I will get the application. I will try to stress the importance of getting the documents in as fast as possible. The other key to that thing is, I think if a good loan officer will be able to convey what documents they need right off the top. The cleaner that you can turn in a file, the faster it'll go, the easier, the smoother transaction it is. That makes everybody's job easier. So we really stress that part of things up front. And I'll usually try to get it all the way to where I can get the disclosures out, and then we pass it on to the next person in our ecosystem, if you will. So then we have a concierge person that will reach out to them, kind of stay on them about signing the disclosures and or getting over any remaining documents that we have. It gets submitted, turned into a processing team. I'll get back involved if I need to on importance of getting documents over, or if there ever is any questions about numbers or anything related to pricing or whatever. I tell my whole team, get me on the phone number, or get me on the phone with that. I don't want them questioning pricing or talking to someone that doesn't know what's going on in regards to rates and fees and that kind of stuff, because they will leave you quickly if they don't trust the process or trust the numbers. So when I get the disclosures out to them, I call them and say, this is what the numbers look like. They're not going to change. We're locked in. I will call you at the end. We'll go over all the numbers with you again before you sign the final paperwork. And that's going to be the end of the closing. So if they have the trust to know that the numbers aren't going to change throughout the process, and they understand the numbers up front, it just makes the whole system that much more simpler. And then making that closing call at the very end, I think, solidifies everything for them and just makes them comfortable. So I usually will take it up to disclosures and then back out and let the processing team and everybody else take over, and then make that closing call that takes 1 minute at the end to say, congratulations, thank you for choosing us. If you know anybody else that's looking to buy or refi, please send them our way.
That's money. That's perfect. All right. So you close your loan, you create a relationship. I know you put them in your database, and we've gone over all of that. I already know what some people who are going to listen to this episode are going to say. You cannot just rely on your database. Now, I know you brought up your talk radio and all that good stuff, but what are some other ways that you have market outreach or that you're gaining new business?
So we're using HomeBot or anything similar to that, but we use HomeBot. That's been a really impactful tool, I feel like, to keep people up to date with their home values. We are using Sales Boomerang. That is a little bit more expensive of a mechanism, but when you start getting up into quite a bit of clientele in your database, you need something a little bit more impactful. Obviously, United Wholesale has their tools as well, but those have been the big I would say technology pieces that we've implemented in our system to stay on top of our clients. The radio stuff is constantly staying in their ear, so I think that helps, which I know everybody can't necessarily do that, but I would say from a technology standpoint, Arrive, Bonzo, HomeBot, those kind of things are integral in our daily operations. We have MBS Highway that helps us out with some of the rate watch stuff. If you're not using the rate watch stuff in Arrive, you're crazy. That's one other thing that we do when we close every loan. We have somebody on our team that's going in and putting a rate watch immediately when that loan funds. When you're getting it, when you're closing it out, meaning you're putting it in, you're funded, and all the other stuff that has to happen at the end, we're setting a rate watch right then and there, so that we're getting notified if that rate gets down. It closed at 6.25. We're setting a rate watch at 5.5, so we're reaching out to them. I'll set it a little bit earlier than I want it. Like if I'm probably not going to refinance them at 5.5, but I'm at least reaching out to them at 5.5, saying, hey, look, we're getting close. Don't fall for any of the nonsense. Don't fall for any of these people that are saying we're going to refinance you at 5% with $20,000 in fees. But I'm reaching out to them preemptively, and I think that builds a lot of trust, because I'm telling them I get paid to refinance you, and I'm telling you, don't do it yet. Don't do it yet. You're going to get the mailers. You're going to get the calls. Just wait until I call you. And I think that builds a lot of trust with them. But I would set up that rate watch thing the minute that loan closes.
No, you're absolutely right, because you brought this up earlier, that you during the HARP days, which I haven't heard that in a long time. And those were easy, fun loans to do. But during those HARP days, I mean, you brought it up. You said, we didn't capture as many as we should have, and I think seasoned people in this business like you and I and many people within our industry, I think when we go through these little bit of a tough times, we always say that to ourselves. We always say, dang it, I wish I could have got more. I should have gotten more. If I would have had a better process in place, if I would have just worked a little bit harder, a little bit more, what I mean? We could have made more, but at the end of the day, I like that little trick of, I'm going to put it pretty much right before we really want to do it, and if it keeps going there. So no, that's absolutely beautiful. That's smart. Let me twist it on here a little bit while we still have a little bit of time. I want to bring up AIME and like Fuse and all of that good stuff here, because I obviously met you through AIME. I met you at one of our first events. Talk to me a little bit about AIME and like, what do you like about AIME? Like if someone's listening to this that maybe is not a member or really doesn't know what we do, like what would you tell them about AIME and why it's beneficial?
That was just actually meeting you, meeting other people was the best thing that I think propelled our business. Because prior to this, I did feel like we were in this all alone. I mean, we had some people in Arizona that we would chat with every now and then. We had an Arizona event that got put on once a year, but we weren't really, I wouldn't say collaborating with anybody, but we would just go to the event, you'd talk here and there, and you'd say, what lender are you using? And a couple things here and there. But when AIME started up, it was, going out to the event and hanging out with people and getting to know them. Like some of my best friends right now are in other states. Some of them a couple of them have actually moved from California to Arizona right now. Met them through the events at AIME, and we've become best friends with them. So I would definitely say attending the events and getting to meet other people has helped our business, helped their business, helped friendships. That's the biggest part of it, because we definitely did. I definitely did feel alone on an island up until AIME was created, for sure. But going to the events and meeting other people just for that pure satisfaction of that was the key to making our business that much more successful. You get to figure out what other technologies people are using, what tools, techniques, what things are working for other people, what other lenders. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I think that's the biggest part of the entire process with AIME, or the entire benefit of it was meeting other people and figuring out what techniques are working.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you, because my favorite thing about AIME, sorry, I mean, I love everyone in it. My favorite thing is the community, just like you said, the people that you meet, and everyone listening. I want you to understand this. Like, Matt has been in the business for a long time. I have been in the business for a long time. There's always a point where you feel alone. Like he said it himself, you feel like you're on a deserted island. You don't have to, I mean, like we've flipped it upside down. There's so much business out there to get that we can help each other and share. Because I'll say this, before AIME, that was never happening. People weren't sharing. Nope. It was, you were my enemy. Don't know why, but that's just kind of the way it was. So no, I appreciate you saying that. And I think that's nail on the head right there. When we talk about Fuse, you've been to a lot of Fuses. I don't know if you've been to every one, but what was your favorite Fuse?
Oh, it would have probably been the first few, just because you didn't. I had no idea what to expect. Just getting to meet everybody. I mean, the events were fun. There was definitely some moments where, like you said, I was looking around going, I can't believe I'm here with all these people. I hate all these people. Like, not hate them, but you're figuring that you're hanging out with all your competitors. And I said, I don't want all these people to be brokers. I don't want to compete against all the Tom Bradys in the world. But as you realize, there's so much more business to go around that it really doesn't, it's not even affecting anybody in that way. And so I think the first few that you go to are going to be the most impactful. And then from there, after that, the feel-good moments are the ones that when you're actually helping people from that point forward. So it turns into, yes, you're getting a little bit of help in the beginning, and that feels good. But the most impactful ones after that are when you actually are helping others from there, or you're getting calls from people that are saying, hey, I saw you at a couple of the other events and I really like it or admire what you're doing. Can you give me any tips, or what would you recommend that I do, or what can I change? Those ones are the best feeling to me. So it kind of comes in different waves, I guess you could say. The beginning is just getting to know everybody. And then after that, it feels good helping others grow from there.
No, that's the selfless part about all of this. You know, I mean, like when these escalations come in and people, I mean, we're brokers. I do the same thing. I'm not saying bad things about anyone, but we freak out. You know, I mean, like us brokers, we freaking freak out fast. You know, but when I get these escalations, you know, and I'm able to help them, that's the real joy for me in doing it. So, Matt, I got two more questions for you. One is kind of like, okay, this is kind of serious, and the last one's going to be a fun one here. If you're on stage at Fuse and you're speaking to the entire broker community and you got a couple minutes, what's one piece of advice you would give them? Like, what's one thing you would tell them to maybe stop doing, or this is what we need to do to move the industry farther?
I think it's changed, and I did say this a few years ago, was stop all the infighting nonsense. We gotta just keep moving forward and get the broker name out there, cut all the infighting in, and just start talking to consumers and educating consumers on why the brokers are better. Not brokers are better to bankers. Brokers are better to consumers. And I had that conversation numerous times with more people in the channel, and just said, screw us fighting. Let's go out and tell the consumers. So I tell people this when I'm talking to them now, in regards to when I'm educating a consumer on a broker. I said, look, even if you don't use me, and let's say you buy a home in another state that I'm not licensed in, I'm going to tell you, go to a broker, because it's the best channel for a consumer, period. It does me no good if you go to another broker in a state that I'm not licensed in. I'm just telling you, I know it is the best for you. And I think staying on that pattern is going to convince more and more consumers over the years that the brokers are the better channel for the consumers, and that's just going to continue to grow the broker channel. I don't know that I want it to get up to 60%, but I do think there's definitely a market for it. I just don't want it. I don't want world domination on it. That's me in a selfish way, but I think that I would just say, you gotta, in the broker world though, you gotta be ready to definitely grind and get after it, because there's a lot more to it. There is a lot more sites that you're gonna have to get on. You know, everybody has their own way of operating it, but it's gonna feel like the world's coming down on you in the beginning. But once you get a couple of them down, it's not that difficult. It just takes, you got to get used to it one or two times, and then it'll flow a lot easier. I still talk that way when we get account reps that come into the office that we haven't used before. I always just tell them, like, hey, you got to work with me. Let me get on the train tracks one or two times, and then it'll be smooth sailing. But I just need you to help me navigate the system once or twice, and then we'll be good. I would definitely say you do want to try to give an effort to using more than one lender here and there, because there is way more loans out there that you can access. I mean, we're doing reverse mortgages, we're doing DSCR loans, we're doing HELOCs, we're doing bank statement loans. I mean, there's tons out there. You just got to be willing to put in the work to figure out how they can operate. And I think the more willing you are to work towards that, the more successful you're going to be at this stuff. I would say get into the guidelines and figure out the guidelines as much as you can too.
Yeah, figure out a little niche. No, that's perfect. I absolutely love that. No, I mean, there's so much business out there to go get. I hate all the fighting going on, you know, sometimes not. It's been a little bit quiet lately, I think. But at the end of the day, I'm telling you, if we can all come together, which I think AIME is doing a very, very good job of. Always a lot more work to do. I mean, we just become better. We all gain from it. You know what I mean? So that's perfect. All right, now
you always learn. I feel like we're always learning. That's one thing that I do like about the industry is the guidelines are always changing, which it is what it is. But this is not a profession that you're going to get in and someone's going to master in a year or two. There's things that are always changing. So it is always keeping you on your toes, which is a good thing.
Yeah, there's no secret sauce. There's no special, you know, individual that comes in that has a beautiful mind that says and then dominates. It just doesn't work that way. You know, a lot of it's personality, which you have. And this is my next question. This is the fun one. If you were in the mortgage world, I'm going to start asking this one more because I think it gives us a little bit of insight of who you are a little bit more instead of just so much business. Yeah. If you weren't in the mortgage world, what would you be doing today?
Well, if I would hopefully have some better athletic skills, that would change a lot. But it's going back to that. I think kind of being something in the sports related field would be ideal. I obviously I don't have the skills to play it anymore. Being an agent of some sort would have been a lot more fun and enjoyable. I really haven't thought too much about that. I definitely couldn't do anything in the acting world. I'm not a good actor. I can't fake anything. So nothing related to that. But I do think over the years I've gotten infatuated with the way that the financial markets are working. But after what's been going on over the past couple of years, everything is confusing in the financial market world. So now it's gotten even more confusing. Even today, the jobs report came out and it was amazing. And we were supposed to be getting crushed on the bond market and we're not. So I don't know. But I think if I had to really dig deep on it, it would have been something in the financial services world, but then that would have probably taken me to New York or something like that. And I don't know how I'd be freezing out there compared to Arizona. So I don't know.
Yeah, I know you don't like the cold weather. You brought that up in the pre-show.
I love the cold weather. I just don't. I just know that I feel like after a year or two of it, I'd be like, this sucks. But I actually want the first trip that we ever took to United Wholesale when they did the broker flyout was in February. It was in February of 2014, and we flew out there and had 6 inches of snow. And I was like, this is awesome. So every year I want to go only when it's cold. I don't want to go when it's hot or when it's in the summer.
Yeah, it gets old though. I'll tell you that much, but it's fun. But no, hey Matt, thanks for joining us today, man. I really appreciate your time. You had a lot of flexibility with us, and I appreciate that. And and I'm going to speak on Matt's behalf. He's the type of guy, I've known him for a long time. If you ever want more insight on him, just easily reach out to him. He's more than happy to help. So, but Matt, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
No problem. Brokers, if you want to catch up on all of our past podcast episodes, as well as other AIME Network podcasts, please head over to aimegroup.com/broker. You can also listen and watch all of them on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, anywhere you can get podcasts. But the YouTube one we're really pushing here. The handle on that's at AIME National for all of our podcast networks there. Everyone else, do me a favor, subscribe, rate, leave a review, whatever it is that you do. It helps to spread the word and provide into the world that brokers are best. And Matt, you're one of them. And thanks for joining us again today, bud.
Thank you.